this new live session here with Keith Garcia. I'm really excited to have Keith, who is a free gun competitor and all-around good guy. For those of you that just joining in, this is Firearms Nation Live, Firearms Nation TV Live. I don't know, but it's been a while, that's for sure. I'm really happy to be back. Yeah, things look a little bit different. But I am here tonight to talk to you with Keith Garcia. Keith is going to answer some of my questions, and then we'll get into your questions. And Keith has been super generous, not only with his time tonight, because he's a busy guy, but with an offer from one of his new sponsors, Safariland. And before we get into that offer, everybody who's tuning in, be sure and let us know that you can hear everything okay. I see some people are watching, so just, chime in, let us know that you can hear us. Okay, well, you can hear me maybe. And then, Keith, how are you tonight? I'll shut up.
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me on.
Again,
yes. Always a pleasure to be back on Firearms Nation.
And, it's like we were talking before this went live. We were talking about how many times you've been on as a guest, and thinking about just now, you've also done, I'm pretty sure, every kickoff that we've done for the summit.
Yeah, absolutely, and it has been my pleasure. It's because the summit is, I learned from it, so I'm glad to be part of it and contribute to it. But I'm learning a ton from listening to what the other instructors have to offer as well.
So as more people come into the live show, just let us know where you're from and if you can hear us okay right now. Otherwise, maybe if they couldn't hear us, they'd be shouting about it. So Keith, tell the people who don't know who you are, which I doubt, but you're doing 3-gun, and 3-gun has gone through a huge evolution these past couple of years, but you're still doing 3-gun primarily.
Yes. So I'm out in California, been a police officer for the last 27 years. Started off doing SWAT competitions out here with my SWAT team. And then as things progressed, started doing USPSA shooting, ultimately wound up doing 3-gun and really found a place that I love to compete and train in. It's a great sport, great people. And it to me, I'd like to do it as long as I can keep walking. I'm going to get out there and keep shooting.
Well, and you can see we flipped. That's good. And I did test the sound while you were talking, and I'm pretty sure people can hear fine. Tony A., thank you for letting us know that you can hear him fine. That's always important. And Tony, let us know where you're from so we get a reference on what part of the country, and maybe if you even shot with Keith. But are you going to continue with 3-gun, or are you going to look into doing some like PCC, like, Max and Josh? And
no, I love PCC now. To be honest with you, yesterday I was out and I got some new gear for my PCC because I'm going to shoot what our local, it's called the Golden Bullet Regional USPSA Championship in May. And then I've got a slot for the Nationals. So I'm going to travel to Utah and shoot that. I think it's September. So yeah, I've got to get trained up for that. I enjoy shooting PCC, but it's so it just, you go out there 1,000 rounds and like 20 minutes later, you're like, I know I have more ammo and everything's empty and there's brass everywhere. And then, it's like really crazy how fast you go through the ammo because it's so fun to shoot and train with a PCC. But I really have to limit that because, there's only so much ammo in the can. So I'm really trying to temper the training with the dry fire and incorporating that into my normal session. So, but it's just fun to shoot and I really enjoy it.
Hey, JB has joined the party, and JB is local to me. I just saw him at Area 6, and thanks for all the hard work you did. PCC has definitely taken USPSA by storm. I think more people were shooting PCC this match than carry optics, and frankly.
And this was Area 6?
This was Area 6. This was this past weekend. So I see a lot of people with that interest, but I just wonder from your old school 3-gunner, I know some people like it, some people don't like it. Are you one of the guys that really like it?
Absolutely. Now, I'm not, one of the guys who's going to say, "Oh, you shouldn't have a box-fed shotgun, and you shouldn't do this, and you shouldn't do that." 2x4 is like, you're going out on the limb and just, 2x4 open. You're doing pretty much anything you want, anything you can drag the line, which I think is kind of cool in some respects. These guys take bipods that are 4 feet tall and do all this crazy stuff, and that's cool. They're pushing the evolution of the sport. The PCC, you can't just pick it up and because I thought, I shoot rifle really good and shotgun real good. This would be like that. It's not. It's more like shooting an open gun, an open pistol. So you really need to train for that and develop skills for the PCC. And it's another challenge, and I love challenges. So that is something I've tried to get better at. I don't have as much time to do it as I'd like, and as much ammo, obviously, as I'd like. But it's a great addition. I think it's welcoming in a bunch of new shooters. I think you could bring your wife, girlfriend, your kids, your boyfriend, whatever the case may be, out to the range, put a PCC in their hand, and they're not going to be intimidated by a course of fire because they can hit all the targets. And as we've all seen, as we've all done when we started shooting pistols, we went out there and got humbled by moving targets, partial targets, and targets with, no shoots and swingers, and it made us. It was frustrating because there were targets that we couldn't hit successfully. The PCC kind of takes that away. Everybody can kind of hit everything, and now it just comes down to, will your gun run, and how fast can you go?
And people are going fast. It's like a Ferrari out there. But I also see it as a way for people to go from PCC into 3-gun. They get a taste for that, manipulating the long gun, and they're like, man, I want to do this. But the only difference I can see primarily is just that you really don't have those long distances that you have with the rifle in 3-gun.
Right. Now, some of the matches I've seen, they push them out to 100 yards on steel targets, and they've got to ring them. And I think that's pretty sporty for some of these guns have really short barrels. So, you've got to know where you're going to hit and how you're going to do it. But, honestly, when you transition to the rifle, those shots become the shots out at 200, 300, 400 with your rifle. And there is, I don't shoot a red dot on my rifle because I can't see that far anymore. So I put a magnified scope on there, and then it's just like, shooting a dot up close so you can actually see everything. So there's ways of getting around stuff.
Now I want to get back to that offer from Safireland. So what is this offer from Safireland, your new sponsor?
All right. Anybody who asks a shooting related question, a good question, 40% off discount card for a purchase up to $1,000 from their website.
That's almost half off.
Almost.
If I remember my math, right?
I was going to say it's been a while.
Yeah.
But I don't have to take off my shoes to figure that one out. Yeah, we're pretty close.
That is an incredible deal. I think it was because of you, I switched from another brand belt and mag pouches. And now I'm shooting the ELS style mag pouches in hopes of one day I'll grow up and shoot 3-gun.
Honestly, for 3-gun stuff, it's a must have. Being able to reconfigure your belt without taking everything off and doing it quickly. Sometimes you get the matches and the squads are small, and you're shooting pretty quickly, and you're trying to reset targets and not be that guy who's always in the back playing with your gear. You want to be able to do it quick, especially when you're shooting with people who you don't know, who might look at you like, hey, you're lazy if you're not up there doing stuff, helping reset. So having that ability to change the stuff out really quick with the ALS on the holster and the ELS on the mag pouches and everything else you need to drag up to the line, it's great.
Now we got some more people in the chat here, and I'm going to get rid of this because we already know it's live. Tony A is from Baton Rouge, and Ricardo is from Illinois. That's my home state. And then Brandon, I don't know where he's from, but he took a 3-gun class with you. Brandon Yamasaki, if I'm saying it right. I don't know if
Hey, Brandon. Absolutely.
So, and he said it was the hands down best, learned tons of weapons manipulation. Well, that's cool.
Thank you, Brandon.
Next time that you're down here, I'm going to have to get in because you were here not that long ago. I mean, you were here literally like 2 weeks ago for multi-gun nationals. How'd that go?
Correct. So I was all geared up. I was going to shoot heavy, and have a new rifle from one of my sponsors, POF USA, and it just shoots great. I shot the first 2 matches of the year in heavy, or actually one in heavy, and then I shot my heavy division rifle in the tactical division in a match, and it really is competitive with the 223s. And I wanted to come to the USPSA Multi-Gun Nationals and represent the brand and shoot heavy and win a championship for them. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough people. We had a lot of good shooters. We had half a dozen guys who've won championships in the past, but not enough to recognize the division. So, the last minute, we all had to switch back to other stuff. Tyler Payne from the AMU went open. I went back to tactical, and other people just didn't go because they just wanted to shoot heavy and didn't want to shoot anything else. So, I was a little disappointed in that, but it was a really good match. Shannon Smith down there at Universal, they put on a really good show. Great ROs, a lot of local help. Really, it's tough when you're running, a big match, and they have a lot of experience in it, and it's hot, and there are people back up on stages, but they figured it all out. And I was told it was going to be a hard match, and it was. Everything was a challenge. You had to aim. There was some interesting props, like a rope to hang yourself on, basically, to shoot out to 400, which a lot of people had issues with. None of us wanted to use it, but we had to because you couldn't go prone on the long range stuff. But they squeezed 2 long range stages in at Universal, out to 415 yards. So that was great for that aspect of it. And then every stage had a challenge, and there were options. So they did a really good job. I really enjoyed it. I got to shoot with the open super squad. So Jerry and Scott Green and Josh Froelich, and it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love Josh. He's got, for those of you who don't know, Josh Froelich, he was on the summit. He's been on the podcast, and he has his own podcast now. And I'm super excited for him. I hope maybe you'll be on his podcast one time. It's called Addicted.
I believe we talked about doing it in Nevada in a couple weeks when we go down for the USSL Grand Nationals. So, yeah, I'd love to do it. Josh is just a really genuinely nice person. So if I can help him out with that, I'd love to do it.
Very cool. So getting back to the match, what are you shooting in terms of your gear these days? You said you're using POF as your rifle. What are you using for shotgun and pistol?
A Breda USA B12IS that I had modified by Terran Tactical Innovation. It's it's very similar to the M2 platform because Breda and Beretta were in one company when Benelli was formed. Make sure I get this all right. And then they went their separate ways. So they both used basically the same inertia pattern because they had that patent they shared. The Breda improved on a couple things. The handguards, another shell longer. So it actually is 4 shells as opposed to 3. So it's a little bit longer. You can get your hand out a little further on the gun. They actually drill out the barrel from a blank. The company's been making cannons for the Italian military for a very long time, so they're very familiar with making really good barrels. It's got an interesting texture, like a impregnated rubbery texture on the stock and the forend. So it's just a really comfortable gun to shoot. It shoots slugs very straight. It's really nice. And then Kai Custom Guns pistols, and they're to me, I'll never leave those pistols because they just shoot hands down better than anything I've ever had.
Yes, there was a strong, especially here in Florida, there was a strong Akai presence at Area 6. So
I understand that Christian won it, and then they have like 3 guys in the top 5 or 6 or something. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, I met Christian in little preview. He will be on the podcast coming up very soon, so I'm very excited about that. Great kid. Good. Wow. Super nice.
Yeah, absolutely. We get him after school before bedtime.
Yeah. I think Shannon posted something on his feed today about how it was a picture of him and Christian at one of the youth camps helping him out. And Shannon was winning until Christian showed up.
Right. So there's always that, right? You want to help guys out. You want to give them the best training. I always tell people who come to the classes, I have no secrets. I'm going to tell them everything that I know and then challenge them to go train harder. If you go train harder, you'll beat me. And, that's kind of the way I look at things. I'm not going to hold back, these little secrets that help you win. That's not good training. I'm going to give you everything I got and then just go train harder. And unfortunately, these kids are taking that, taking us up on it and going out there and training really hard and doing very well.
Amazing stuff. I was watching. I was like, wow, is he good? Uh, your duty gun is the 320, or because you showed,
Yeah.
if you haven't visited, and it's mostly his Instagram feed, Keith puts out these little videos of him like moving like the $6 million. I mean, just super fast. I mean, obviously not the slow motion, and half the people listening to this will not know what that is, but yeah, he shoots these things super fast. Yes, exactly. But that's because he was moving so fast, they had to slow it down. I always like that. But you're shooting the 320, and then you're shooting the Akai in some of those videos. When you're doing those reloading videos. What would you prefer to shoot in USPSA if you had to shoot a USPSA match? Would it be the Akai? Would you shoot that, or would you switch to the 320?
So, I definitely love the Akai. I mean, when I need to hit that, we had a stage, the last stage I shot at Mystery Mountain Match 2 matches ago. It seemed like a dumb stage when I saw it initially. They had 2 plate racks and a target out at about 75 yards, and you had to sling your rifle, and then from 10, 15, and 20, you had to shoot. You got one chance to hit the, because you only had one round in your rifle on the beep. You had to hit the rifle target. Then, you have the sling on, so you just drop your rifle down, draw your pistol, and you have to shoot both plate racks. And you had to do it at 10, then at 15, and then at 20. So Nate from the AMU runs the thing in 22 seconds total time. So there's really nothing you can gain on this thing. You're just trying to mitigate damage. If you miss the steal with a rifle, it's a 10-second penalty. So I'm thinking, oh boy, you really, and it's my last stage of the match. So I was running my 308 in tactical division. So I knew I'm going to hit that steal. I just have to aim. Don't go too fast. Just do your thing. But the pistol thing was, the plates were your regular 8-inch plates, but at 10 yards, that's real easy. At 15, not bad. When you get back to 20, though, it's easy to get going too fast and have misses. And I think I had one extra shot through, the 20-yard distance, and that kind of confidence in your gun, when it's just you put it up there and the trigger's really good and the sights look really good and they just track really well, and you can knock down everything. It's the confidence that gives you when you walk to the line is great, and that's why I prefer it. I do enjoy shooting the 320 as my duty gun. I enjoy training people in it and stuff, but if I'm going to go shoot a match, I'd like to have that Akai.
Will you ever shoot USPSA? I mean, I know you shot multi-gun, but would you ever just do like a regular pistol match?
Yeah, I can retire in the not too distant future, and I'm thinking that I definitely, before nationals, I got to get I think I have like 4 or 5 classifiers for PCC, and I've got to get classified. So I've got to go out and shoot at least a couple more matches before September. So I'll definitely go do that. And I do enjoy shooting. We had an all pistol stage at nationals. Shannon put it together, and it was really cool. It was a good stage. You had to shoot swingers that had nothing but A zone, and it was hardcover, and there was some they were pretty fast, and I was a GM. I kind of play one on TV now, so I kind of threw it out there, and I finished third on that stage and beat some of the guys who were legit GMs. So I was pretty happy about that. So I can still strap it on the helmet once in a while and go out and shoot a pretty darn good pistol stage. So I'd like to get into that again, honestly. If I can get my reloading gear all set up and have that ammo and just go out and have weekends free after I retire, I think it would be great.
I like 3-gun. I've done not at the level that you have, but there's a definite challenge to it. There's just something fun running around with a handgun and just trying to hit all these targets, because it is challenging. It's very challenging with the hand. When you get that rifle, or the PCC. And no knock to PCC. I'm sure I'm going to be doing it next year, but it's not as challenging. The pistol's always so challenging.
Oh, absolutely. The pistol's the hardest gun to shoot. I tell my students it's the hardest gun to shoot, the hardest gun to master. And I think people who start there and then transition into 3-gun will always have an advantage because, you can't just develop those skills out of thin air. And when you go to a match, oftentimes people's shotgun and rifle skills are better because they've started at the same time. And the pistol one's harder to develop. So when they get there, they want to steer away from the pistol stuff, and they want to use it as little as possible because it's harder to get the job done. And in some stages, it doesn't make sense to load the shotgun or to dump the pistol after a few rounds. It makes sense to load the pistol as you can throw in an extra 20, 21, 22 rounds into it really quickly and shoot, but you still have to mow down these little pieces of steel that seem easier with a shotgun because they are, but you also have to load. So it's nice to have that skill level, and it definitely is more of a challenge.
Now, I got a little message here from JB that you killed stage 7. What was stage 7?
Stage 7. Oh, so here's a little thing about USPSA. USPSA, you can actually, and this doesn't happen in any other multi-gun, you can actually put a gun down on the ground, and as long as you stay within 3 feet of it, you can shoot another gun, and then pick that gun up again or end with that. And there was a stage where I'm sure Shannon had it envisioned where we were going to shoot in box A, run forward, shoot in box B, grab another gun, shoot in box B, run back to box A, then run back to box B, and then, back and forth 3 or 4 times. Well, we kind of figured out a way around that and ran down, shotgun down, shot pistol, hot holstered pistol, picked up rifle, ran back with rifle, shot rifle, put the rifle on the ground, and then finished with handgun. And you took out 2 passes down and back. So it was a good plan. But it didn't come without its potential issues because right before we shot, one of the guys from the AMU DQ'd because you had some tight shots, and if you leaned too much away from your gun, they were calling you on the fault of being further than 3 feet and DQing you. So there was some risk in it, and but it was worth it, and I ended up winning that stage. So I think. Stage design. I know Shannon wasn't too happy about people doing that because he didn't. I don't know if he even knew that rule at that point because it's not commonly used. It's hard. I've only used it one other time in the entire time I've shot because it just doesn't make sense to do it hardly ever. And most ROs would if you weren't at the nationals, the ROs would never even understand that you could do it. But those ROs, especially the CROs, they're very good. They know all the rules, so they knew we could do it. So I think in the future. I know that we're going back to Frostproof again next year. I doubt that's going to be a possibility, but it was a fun stage.
That's cool. Did you win that stage?
I did.
Good. So we had some other people. We had Sherman from Buenos Aires. That's pretty cool. I have no idea what time zone Buenos Aires is on. If you're still here, Sherman, I'd be curious to see if it's later or earlier than the time. Like right now, it's like 8:55. And guys, just add some more questions here. Let's see. Richard says that he shot his 4th USPSA in competition, 3rd match. He was actually DQ'd, but it was humbling and he learned a lot from it. How often have you been DQ'd? So
I have a good story about this. In 2008, no, I'm sorry. It was 2009. I got DQ'd at the Handgun Nationals. I was shooting on the Super Squad, and I got DQ'd at the Multi-Gun Nationals, both of them USPSA Nationals, in the same year. I learned a lot from that. I really had to take a look at how I was training and how I was approaching stages and how I was approaching strategy in a match. And what I realized is that you can't shoot faster than you can see the sights. That's as fast as you can shoot. And your transitions, you need to practice them. One of them I got DQ'd because I dumped the shotgun and it didn't stay in the barrel. So I went back and I reworked how I dumped the shotgun. I got DQ'd in the handgun match because when I reloaded, I broke the 180. So there's an issue with how you train, how you approach the matches, how you approach the stages, what your objective is. To me, it was, let me practice everything I can practice outside the range, all the manipulations and transitions and movement. And then when I go to the range, let me practice the shooting and focus on doing it safely as fast as I could do it. And then I haven't been DQ'd since.
So one of the things that I saw at Area 6, and I see this at other matches too, people want to either be super cautious in their shots, or they want to go fast because they've seen other people go really fast. And I guess the whole gist of what we do in shooting sports is we want to be accurate and we want to shoot fast. Now, can you tell how fast you're shooting when you're shooting? Excuse me.
Yes. Well, so when I do it, and this is where you have to shoot to figure it out. You have to learn respect for target size and distance. So the target size and the distance of the target will dictate how fast the tempo that you can shoot, the splits you can shoot. You can't shoot faster than that, but you have, that's one thing you don't know until you know. And that, when I say that, I mean, you have to actually go out and shoot those 20-yard partials. You have to go out and shoot the swingers. You have to shoot those little 3-inch pieces of steel at 10, 12, 15 yards to understand how long you need to, the sight needs to stop, and how much, concentration, because it's all about trigger. So how much time do I have to put into that trigger press? And that's the key. How much time do I have to put in that trigger press? Now, a 5-yard open target, no time at all. I'm slapping the heck out of that thing and moving on. Now that 15-yard target with a headshot only, with a no shoot, considerably more time. But it feels the same because I'm trying to do that shot as fast as I can do it successfully. So that 5-yard shot, when it's bang, bang, it feels the same as the 15-yard shot because I'm trying to do that one as fast as I can do it as well. But I know it's not as fast as the 5-yard shot. So those are things you have to learn: the rhythm, the sight picture, the acceptable sight picture. That means how long do you have to pause it there, and how much work do you have to put into pulling that trigger straight to the rear and letting the gun go off and having the bullet leave the barrel before you move the gun. That's the difference. So the guys at the top end, they know when they see that target, they know when they see the sight hover in the middle of that target, they know how fast they can pull the trigger. And oftentimes when you come in on the target and it goes off a little bit too soon and you see it, the dirt go right behind it, you know what you did, you know exactly what you did, but you're there and you can just send another one downrange. So that's the key. It's respect for target size and distance, learning what it takes to be successful with the shot that you have in front of you at the time. Don't worry about the shot, the next one down the road. Worry about the one you're shooting now, because that's where you get problems. And that's when you see people shoot a shot and they do this. They'll shoot and then they miss and they come back, and then they miss and they come back because they're trying to get to the next shot. Shoot the one in front of you as fast as you can do it safely to get a hit, and then move on.
What about, I also see some of the top guys. Now, granted, open shooters do this all the time, but I saw Jacob Hetherington. He was shooting. He won. It was a great competition for him, but he did a lot on the move for a production guy. He shot like an open guy, and would that be ideal for shooters to try and focus on? To be able to shoot at that speed that you're doing, staying still, and be able to do that.
So Jacob's very talented, plus he has unlimited training resources and budget. So to do that, you need to match that level of training. That's the hardest thing in the sport to do, is to shoot partial targets, shoot distance targets, shoot targets with a high level of complexity. And I'm talking when I say a technical target, that's going to be a headshot only at 15 yards or further, or a zebra target at 20 to 25. So these are things that are really technical shots. And a lot of people, you're going to have to stand there and shoot those. And only a very few special people are going to be able to take those on the move. And that's really, really tough. And that's the high end of the sport, especially with a production gun or a limited gun. It's this adds that much more difficulty to it. But if you can flow through the stage without stopping, or minimize the times you stop, your score is going to be better in the end, because it's going to be smoother, and you're not going to have these hard stops and starts. But sometimes you'll see the real athletic guys, they have great times because they charge in, they shoot everything, and they charge the next spot, and they stop, and they charge the next spot. So there's ways to do it. But that true shooting points on the move at a high level in that match, try it at your local first. Get some work in that before you go to a national competition or a regional competition and where you spent money and traveled, because it's tough.
Yeah, I would highly suggest never try anything at any major match that you've never done before, because that's just going to make you feel bad.
That could be a disclaimer at the end of the video.
So you teach 3-gun classes. Do you teach competition-specific classes, like how to compete at a big match, how to work a stage, or is it mostly just the weapon manipulations?
So I have two classes I do right now. One is a 3-day 3-gun with all the weapon manipulations, which is, to me, I think a great class for anybody at any level in the sport, because I put a lot of time and effort into trying to figure out how the fastest way to do all the manipulations, get the guns running, keep them running, fix them if they're broke, and keep them loaded. And those things help. They help. The transitions really help. It takes time off your total time. And then I have a 2-day class where it's all shooting on the move. And that's something that, we start the day off with trigger manipulation with a pistol. And that's something that people, a lot of times, they haven't got that particular skill set down. And we really focus on, and it's probably the best money you'll ever spend, having somebody actually show you, teach you, demonstrate for you, then physically, show you how to do it, manipulate the trigger, and then you start doing that on the move. And it's great because I've seen people who were leery at the beginning start hitting targets at 20, 25 yards on the move. And granted, they're full size IPSC steels, but they would have a hard time hitting them previously just standing still. So the trigger manipulation really helps. The sport is all about the trigger. It's all about pulling it straight to the rear and keeping the sights on the target. So when you're moving, you really have to focus on that more, because you have a limited time exposure for that sight to settle on the target where you need it. So tying those things together, tying your vision in with the sight and the target and the trigger, a lot of dry fire, a lot of movement dry fire, but when you get out there and do it and you have the proper technique, it's a lot of fun. I like to see people's the light bulb go off, and they when they do it right for the first time, and they really see the advantage of it. Those two classes, I think, for 3-gun stuff, I've done long range classes in the past though, but you honestly have to have a facility which is very few and far between, which accommodate multiple positions with targets out to 600 yards and spotters and everybody getting zeros, and it's tough. It's a really, really tough thing to do. So I don't do that one very often. I haven't done it in a few years actually. So I do TAC pistol classes with law enforcement and civilians who want to do concealed carry and just learn how to shoot a handgun or a rifle, really high end. Fast, accurate stuff. So those classes are a lot of fun too.
One of the stages, had this mini popper, and had to be close to about 30 yards out, and you had to get past that. That became, for some people, a nightmare, because they were trying to hit it and they just couldn't. And then for other people, it was just like, all right, I'm gonna just get over there and prep that trigger and break the shot and just make sure I got it before I do anything else. You were going to say, yeah.
So when I do that, I think I get to that spot and I think about bending just at that second knuckle. I put the sights in the middle and I think bend at that second knuckle straight to the rear. When I do that and it pulls the trigger straight to the rear, it doesn't push the sights off the target. It takes that little bit more time, just a few fractions of a second. But that's when I know, on those shots, that's what I'm going to do. Because I want to hit that shot. I want to get it now. So I will focus on that second joint and just pull it straight to the rear. Because if you can't bend your finger just at that second joint, it's something you need to work on, because it's pulling it straight to the rear. Because people do this and your whole hand starts to move when you do it. But you can pull the trigger straight to the rear without moving your wrist if you're bending at that second joint. And it's something you need to refine. And every time you train, you should be focusing on that, and it will help.
A question that came up, I'm reading here. Brendan wanted to know what are the enhancements on a TTI B12 versus just a stock B12?
So, okay. Now so the B12i that they have from the factory, it's cut for like a strong hand loader. So someone who's a right-handed shooter loading with the right hand, and I don't think you need to do anything to that gun. It's already set up. It's good to go. Since I load with my left hand, which as a right-handed shooter, I know seems kind of weird because it seems like your right hand would be smarter, but I loaded for so long, one at a time with this hand, putting those shells in, that when I tried to do it with my right hand, I was not very fast or fluid with it. But when I did the quad loading with my left hand, it was really smooth. So I sent mine to Taryn. I had it opened up. The port looks great. It's very similar to what the work he does on the M2s. And the trigger job, just because, it's always easier to shoot a gun with fast and accurate with a better trigger. Oversized safety, so you can knock it off quicker and, keep it, where you want it, control it. The stimpling and stuff, it's all just, that's, get a match saver, get it stippled if you like the feel of that. It does help when your hands get sweaty, like in Florida. The sight on the gun, the sight on the Bredas, it's a really nice steel sight with a fiber optic insert, like a handgun sight. And to me, you don't need to do anything with that because the rib is really nice. I don't use rear sights. I just use the rib as a rear sight. So other than that, really, I don't. I'm sorry. Obviously, the lifter. Usually, now the lifters coming from the factory are already pre-done, but the ones originally when I got my guns, they were the old fork style, and you don't want to load with those. They tend to leave a lot of meat in the gun.
Are you loading your own ammo for all three platforms?
Negative. In fact, I'll give you some advice. I shoot factory ammo in matches. I've been doing it for years. I almost lost USPSA Nationals years ago because I had a squib that I had loaded. And that right there told me I will load for practice, handgun especially. Rifle's kind of a pain. You can actually blow your gun up and stuff. So I tend to stay away from that and just get practice ammo. And obviously shotgun stuff's the cheapest one we can buy. But handgun, it's a lot of fun to load, especially I loaded for the PCC and then it really made it like an airsoft gun. So that was kind of fun. But honestly, for matches, for years, for over 10 years now, I've shot only factory ammo in matches. Hornady's been a great sponsor. And for years, the last 3 years, Rio has provided me with shotgun ammo. And you sacrifice a little bit in the recoil, but the peace of mind that this is match ammo, and so that means they looked at it twice instead of once. So most likely it has a primer in it and powder, and it's going to go off. And I haven't had any problems with factory ammo. So it's not that you shouldn't shoot your own stuff because most people do, but for me personally, if I'm gonna spend money and travel, then I want to have the gun go bang each time it's supposed to, and I don't want the ammo to be my excuse. I'll blame the gunsmith if I have to, but I want the ammo to work.
Well, that seems pretty smart. Speaking of, so you mentioned Hornady, and you've mentioned Akai, and you've mentioned POF and Breda. So these are your sponsors, and you're at a high level. For the people who are coming up, one of the things that you see at these matches, it's like the NASCAR jersey. Everyone is throwing on all these sponsors, and you're thinking, what are they? Why is it that important? Obviously, you're getting a gun, which is huge, but not at that level. How important is sponsorship in the shooting sports?
Well, for me, the ammo is huge because we shoot a lot of ammo. The help out with travel, the gear, all of it adds up over the course of a year. And with 3-gun, we have 3 platforms. We have optics on the rifle. We have mounts, and we have to have all this separate stuff for 3-gun, with the shot shell holders, the exchange for magazine holders, which, we're going to put a rifle magazine on, then we're going to take it off, put a pistol magazine on, then we're going to take it off and put a shot shell holder. So it all adds up. But for me personally, and I got a really good piece of advice from Ron Avery years ago when people started offering me sponsorship. He told me, never take a piece of gear that isn't going to help you shoot better or win. Don't take a piece of gear just because it's free, because if it's not going to help you. So that had rung true with me. Ron put a lot of thought and effort into all the stuff he did. Rest in peace, Ron. He very much helped me come along in this sport in handgun and then in 3-gun. But that advice was great advice, because honestly, I'd rather pay for something that is going to work and help me get better than to get something that is not a good piece of gear that's going to assist me and just create problems for me. So if the shotgun doesn't run, don't take it from somebody and have issues with it. If the rifle won't hit at 600, it's not going to help you. So you're better off buying something that's going to work. Buy something good quality, and it'll last for years. Because a lot of this stuff can be done in dry fire, so you don't have to burn your barrels out, and the guns will last a long time. When you get to where you're traveling, that's really where the sponsorship helps. Free slots in matches, because that's $275 to $350. Sponsors giving you slots is great. When you show up and the sponsors shipped your ammo to the hotel, that's great. When you get a check because you got some reimbursement for your flight, it's great. But honestly, I don't do it for that, and I do it because every time that buzzer goes off, I get a rush, and I love it, and I get excited about that. And if I ever lost that, where I didn't get excited about it, I'd stop, and then the sponsorship would matter at that point.
Now, at what point did sponsors come to you? What was going on in your shooting?
So I made, I was in a very good spot, very, very, very good position. In 2010. I was really getting pretty good at 3-gun, and 3-Gun Nation came along. The very first ever match they ran as their side match at the end for a $5,000 check was at Mystery Mountain out in Arizona. It's always in March. So they did a shoot off for the top 8 guys, and we had great shooters: Patrick Kelly, Mike Voigt. They're just all the guys you look up to. Taryn, the guys who were really good. And I ended up winning the first ever 3-Gun Nation shoot off. So as a result of that, I got my first rifle sponsorship, because as I'm on the range, I won it. I came off the range, and I just happened to talk to one of the greatest rifle engineers, manufacturers ever, and he sent me a rifle to shoot, which I would shoot for the next few years. And that really, because of the spot I was in at the time, I ended up getting on the 3-Gun Nation show and traveling with them and doing that and winning these matches. And I won, a couple of their matches that year. I ended up winning the second year at the same match, the first match of the year, and then went on to win the $50,000 championship. So that kind of stuff, because there was some media involved with the TV show, it was a great position to be in. I was very fortunate. So lots of sponsorship came in, and I was happy to gobble it up.
And now for the rest of us who aren't on TV, what do you suggest for them to start gaining some sponsorships?
So getting really good social media. You have to be good on social media. You have to get out there, promote yourself as a good brand. You are a brand. Do not get on there and talk crap to everybody. That is not a good way to attract sponsors. It's not a good way to be a good competitor. It's not a good way to treat people, period. So try and be a good person, and I don't I've never picked a fight online. I've always, my thing is if somebody pops off, it's delete and block and erase. And then that's that. And we move on. There's no reason to do it. I mean, as a police officer, I go to work and, I get paid to go fight with people there. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that in the shooting sports. I love this sport. I enjoy being at the matches. I love competing. I don't want to have bad blood with people. It's, at times when we were doing the 3 Gun Nation TV show, we would purposely kind of taunt each other and have fun, but we were having fun with it behind the scenes. So it was good. But if you have to present yourself as a brand, and a quality brand. And then, if you can do drills and do, show good match video and things that highlight your progression as a shooter and as a brand ambassador, because that's really what you are. If you want sponsorship, you have to show people that product works and then tell them why it works and show them how it works at a high level. Tell them how it helps you get better, however the case may be. And again, don't take something that isn't going to make you better. You only take something that's going to help, because you're better off just paying for the, because most of the stuff we have, it's, we tie more up in ammo and travel than we do in our guns a lot of times if we're traveling to big matches. So better get quality gear, go out and don't expect to get people flocking to you sponsorship until you start winning, or at least, top 5 or whatever. So then, people will sometimes come to you, but a lot of times you need to approach them, and you approach them with the idea of don't go to them with, hey, what can you do for me? You go to them with a good plan of what you offer. So, I've had at times gone to SHOT Show with full resumes and media plans of how, I can tie my brand in with another brand, their brand, and this is the kind of exposure I can give, and these are what my videos average, and et cetera. And these are the pages I run to show people, what I can offer them, because people don't, they want their sponsored shooters to do something for them as well. They're not just in the habit of giving, and most business people don't want to just give away product because they want a friend. They want somebody who's going to get out there, be a good person, be a good brand ambassador, and bring other people to their brand.
Is there a specific person in a company that you recommend, like a marketing director, the president? I mean, who would you approach?
So in big companies, it's going to be the marketing guys, unless you have an in with somebody who's higher up the food chain who, you have known for some other reason you shot with and you have struck up a rapport with. But usually it's the marketing people or the social media people. Social media people, ad people, they know what the company's looking for, so they'll know if you're going to fit into their brand or their ask them what they're trying to do that year. Because if they're only looking to sponsor, the new young teenage female shooters, I walk up with my gray hair, that's not going to work. So a lot of times, be honest with them about what you're looking for and ask them what they're trying to do that year. Because there's a lot of companies that have, long range plans and some that don't. But, it always never hurts to ask.
When you were just starting and you started getting into, the different forms of competition, did you ever think you'd end up where you are today? Was that the goal?
So the worst thing that ever happened was that I went to a police only match, my very first match, cops only match with handgun, and I won. So that was the worst thing that ever could happen, because I was like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever, right? I was hooked, hook, line, and sinker. That didn't last long because there's not too many cop only matches. So shortly thereafter, I was getting my butt kicked by all the civilians at the local range, which was fine because I love that challenge, and the challenge of trying to figure out how to get better, training and learning a technique, and then going out and practicing the technique, because you got to train to get good at something and develop new techniques. Then you go and you practice it to see if it's actually going to work for you. Which you should keep diaries about your drills and some standards. And if you're going to try a new technique and you go out and practice it, is it going to help you? Does it really help you? Does it help you on paper? Does it really, does your score better? And I love that stuff. I've got all kinds of histories of, my different techniques over the years of things I've tried, and some were good and some weren't. And some things I thought, man, this is gonna be the best ever. And it didn't work out on paper. It made me feel good, but it didn't help me get better. So I'd have to move on and try something else. But it's the challenge. The challenge is what got me here. I love the challenge. And there's always a challenge. I was shooting with Jerry Michlik at the Nationals, and you could tell he still gets excited to get up to the line and shoot. And that's, and he's done it all. He's won everything, but he still gets excited, still carries himself like a gentleman, and has a great time out there shooting. That's what I hope to do.
Well, when you end up retiring, what are going to be your plans? I know you talked about finding some other work, but are you doing more matches, more training, or more teaching?
I'd love to do all that. I'd love to have a job in the industry that would facilitate, the travel, and just I'm looking forward to a new challenge, because I've been doing law enforcement for a long time, and that's, to me, not the challenge it was. It's not the passion that it was when I started. So now I'm towards the end, and I'd like to start a new challenge, new phase, go and get a job doing something else. I want it to be, in this field, because I do love being around the people and the gear, and I'm certainly going to continue training if people want classes, because I really enjoy training. It's fun to me. It's not easy. It's a lot of mental and physical time, involved with preparation. And when I teach classes, I demonstrate everything. So, you got to put yourself on the spot and do things right. But I really enjoy that. So I'd love to do more teaching. I'd love to have a job in the industry, and then tie those things together and do more matches as well.
Well, I totally agree with you about this industry. I think it's a great industry. Short little aside at the match, lots going on in my life. So when I was packed everything, went to a friend's house, transferred everything to his car, and drove up to the match, and got to the hotel and realized that I left the gun in my trunk. And I was like, oh my God.
How far away were you?
It's almost 2 hours.
Okay.
And, but it's like, what was the whole point of driving up to the hotel? So we would have to drive, early in the morning. It was just, so trying to figure out what to do, made a phone call, and actually, I don't know if you know him, Chris Kozel gave me his gun to use for the match, which totally blew me away. The fact that awesome. Someone would trust me, he's from out of state, but trust me to use his gun, and it was great. It was just that right there is the essence of the sport, to totally give without question, like, hey, he needs to get, here he goes. And so that really touched me.
That is awesome. And that, Chris, that's a very generous thing. And I'm glad to hear that. And I will tell you that in 3-gun, all of us have had a match where it took a village for us to get through it, because things broke. We ran out of ammo, whatever, and everybody was pitching in to help you. And I've had my matches like that, and I've certainly seen plenty of other shooters have the same issues. And everybody just goes to their bags and starts getting stuff for them. Because it comes back around. It's good karma, and it someday it's going to be you. And it's just nice to know that, we can rely on each other. So that's great.
So before we wrap up, if there's anyone still watching who wants to ask a question, get it in. I'm going to wrap it up here with Keith. And also, if you've asked a question or just watched this and watched it live, that is, you can send me an email at arik@firearmsnation.com with your address, and Keith will be sending me a bunch of these cards to mail out to you. I'm sure I can. It's a code, right? Or is it an actual credit card?
It's a little credit card with a code on it. Yeah, each one is individual.
Okay. So I will be able to get those out to you. Keith, what is actually coming up next for you? What's your next big thing?
So PCC batch is the regional championships, and then I go to the grand championships for USSL, and it's going to be a new format. We're going to shoot. I think we're going to shoot 4 stages of multi-gun, 4 stages of rifle, 4 stages of pistol, 4 stages of shotgun, and have a grand champion at the end of that. So it's a totally new match, and I'm looking forward to that. I think it'll be a new challenge, right? Because we've got, traditionally we're going to shoot, maybe have a 1-gun stage at each match. And we did that at the Nationals. Shannon did a really good job. We had a shotgun only, had a pistol only, we had a rifle only. But if we're going to you have to perform on that, 4 or 5 times. That's a total different dynamic. So I'm looking forward to that. There'll be all kinds of matches towards the end of the year, but right now that's the next one on the horizon.
You didn't say what was your PCC rifle?
The SIG MPX. I really like it.
Terran's version?
Terran is the one who put that together for me. Air gold trigger in it, and it just it's like cheating. It doesn't move. It's fun to shoot. It really is.
So JB wanted to know, how would you feel if heavy was a category instead of a division?
A category? Is that like for fat guys? Is that what he's trying to say? Then I'm all for it, because we have to move more mass around the range, and if I could win a heavy division trophy and still shoot my regular stuff, it's all good. I'll be the heavy law enforcement tactical champion. I like it.
Yeah, I think in terms of you have category, you have law enforcement, you have lady or female. I think it's lady.
What he's saying, he's trying to tell you I'm fat. It's all good.
Okay. All right. So, everyone, thank you for tuning in. I know the year has already started, so I can't say in the upcoming year, but I plan to the rest of this year get more of these live shows going again. I always get some good feedback on it, and it's fun to do because we're not just recording it; we're interacting with you out there. And of course, Keith, this is I think number 5 now, number 5 or 6 at least. I can't tell you how. I think you're just going to keep that mic. I can't tell you how happy I am to have you back on. It's always a pleasure talking, and you're so well spoken, and brother Leo, and we're looking forward to your retirement.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on, and I'll keep coming back as long as you'll have me. It's a great show, and the summit is always something I look forward to. So thank you.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Be safe out there. Keep training. Go to matches, and take care of everybody, because this is our sport, and we want to keep it going. It's a great thing. So peace out, everybody. And Keith, I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
And we're done.
Excellent.